everyone, welcome back to the Work Experience Discover, the IAESTE SPL podcast. This is Mark, and today I'm joined by Elisa Calleja, from an alumni from IAESTE Malta. Hi, Elisa.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Very well, and you? Quite excited to be on this podcast.
You're very welcome. So basically, what I did the past few hours was I was going through your LinkedIn profile and through your website, and I think there would be enough things we can talk about, but let's start with a little bit easier question. So maybe give us a little bit background, what you studied at the University of Malta, how did you get involved with IAESTE in general, and what your experience were throughout your time with IAESTE.
Okay, so that's a long answer. So I started studying architecture. I entered university studying architecture, and I did architecture for the first year, where I joined IAESTE during that time. And throughout my year in architecture, I realized that this isn't for me, and I ended up moving towards studying marketing and management, and I went on to do my bachelor in marketing and management. Throughout my first year in architecture, during Freshers Week, I heard about IAESTE and I was interested in doing an internship. So I went to the meeting. They explained what IAESTE is, what the possibilities are, and they mentioned that if we join the committee, we have an extra chance on going on an internship. So I said, why not? You always hear about how you should be involved in organizations when you went to university. So I said, I want to be as active as possible on campus. So why not join an organization? And IAESTE was one of the only organizations that, to be honest, didn't need an election to join. So I said, well, at university, once you're first there, you're not the most popular. So realistically, if you had to join an organization with an election, you wouldn't be elected. So I said, okay, this is an interview. I normally do great in interviews. So I said, why not? Let's try. So I decided to approach one of the committee members, and they explained what the possibilities are, what the roles are. And I went for my first interview, where it was pretty much like a job interview, what your interests are, what your skills are. So it felt very official, which I like. I do well in this situation. So I said,
actually, that's a good first training, isn't it? And because after graduation, you anyway have job interviews and so on. So it's actually good training in the beginning, in the first place.
Yeah. And it was very interesting. It was formal, but at the same time, there was a really cool vibe. So I was quite excited for the possibilities. And then I remember, this was like 6 years ago, so it's been a while. Yeah. But I feel quite old at this point, to be honest. They told me that I got chosen and what the options for the roles were. I remember I was offered either incoming officer or outgoing officer, and they explained to me sort of what each role involved. And at that point, I was quite a shy person, so I said, if I pick incoming officer, I deal with a lot of people, and I was not good with people at that time. And I think IAESTE actually made me quite a more outgoing person and helped a lot with developing my social skills. So that's something I'm quite thankful for. So for that reason, I picked outgoing officer, because I'd rather deal with paperwork than people. Now it's actually quite different, so that's quite a good thing.
I think that's something we really hear very often, when people join. I mean, I'm from Austria, and when I joined IAESTE Austria, you also heard that very often, that a lot of people join to develop, let's say, their social skills, so to say, or whatever you want to call them, because you get to know so many different people and different personalities, that this is one of the biggest benefits of the association, because you basically learn to deal with, some people want to get, that you talk to them more direct, others want everything sugar-coated.
Yeah.
And that's what you learn.
Yeah, very true. And I think because, especially when you start dealing with summer reception, the amount of problems that arise, or issues, not exactly problems that arise, you learn to deal with a lot of things when it comes to dealing with accommodation, when it comes to dealing with employers, when it comes to dealing with the interns themselves, and maybe because of the change of something that they're not used to, you get to deal with a lot of personalities and exactly a lot of type of people and how to deal with people. So I think that it's very useful for someone, I guess it is very useful for someone who wants to expand their dialogue skills, their social skills, and their communication skills in general, especially with different cultures and different thinking, people who think differently.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I joined the IAESTE as a outgoing officer for my first year, where I obviously learned all the processes and learned a lot on the job at that point. I was giving very little training, and I remember just learning on the job as we went along, which to be honest is quite good. You get thrown in the deep end and figure it out, and it works well. And then we ended up, I remember, yeah, so my second year, I had switched from architecture to marketing at this point in my second year. And I ended up with a period of, should I stay in IAESTE or should I leave? Like, IAESTE doesn't cater for marketing and management, very, very little options. And to be honest, I think at that time there was even less options than nowadays, because nowadays we do cater for more backgrounds. And I was a bit like, should I stay? Should I leave? I can't benefit that much from it. But after thinking about it, I realized the benefit isn't going on an internship at all when you're in a committee. The benefit is all these soft skills that we're mentioning. The benefit is traveling with IAESTE to meet other committees. The benefit of IAESTE was the IAESTE family, not going on an internship at that point. And to be honest, I had met so many people from different committees in IAESTE during my first year that as long as IAESTE Malta still welcomed me, if I wasn't there was this issue that because I wasn't part of the 5 faculties that IAESTE Malta catered for, it was a question mark whether I can stay or not. And there was a requirement, since I was the only one who knew outgoing, to stay and help, which led me to, at that point, becoming exchange officer in IAESTE Malta. And I was helping dealing with the handover of the new team, because I was one of the old ones. And the committee that was of my first year, most of them were doing their masters and were about to leave the committee. So I had to train the new incoming committee, and I had to stay on to help out. And I ended up staying, and I stayed for 4 years for all my university.
Suddenly, it's 4 years, when you want to decide
exactly.
to stay.
And to be honest, I didn't want to leave. I only left because I left university, and at that point, you start feeling like when there are so many younger people in the committee, it's your time to move on, and it is your time to contribute to IAESTE in different ways.
Absolutely. And I think we will come to that, because that's why you are also a guest here on the podcast. But I think it's very important when you see all those younger people, when they are joining IAESTE as well, it's important to also give them the same opportunity you had, and still being, sticking around a little bit, giving advices, but they also should do the same mistakes you did, but they also get the same experiences, maybe some different ones. But that's the beauty when new people come in and you see them growing up. We had another conversation, with Thomas, the president. He also said he's always fascinated how people and the volunteers grow up over the years. He's in 18 years in the association. And that's really, that's the cool part also.
Yeah, it's nice to see even the fresh new ideas that come in when you have new blood coming into the association. And at one point, yes, it's time to step back, give advice, help out whenever needed, but let them obviously take the reins. So I did that during my last year in bachelor's. I sort of took a step back, was only there when I was really needed. So then when I left, obviously they could keep running the committee without me.
Yeah, cool.
So maybe we can talk a bit about the international experiences.
Yes, of course. I mean, why basically we invited you because we get a new website. And by the point this episode is getting online, the new website is already online. Um, and you did actually a huge contribution on that because you did all the user experience and user interface of the new website. And I will try something new because we are here on Zoom. So for everyone, if there are any delays between Elisa and me, please apologize. But this is, especially in the current situation, the best one. And I'm sitting in Austria, Elisa in Malta. So that's the only way how we can connect. However, for all the ones who are on YouTube, you will see now me sharing my screen because I want to. I have a special question to you and everyone who is on Spotify and all Deezer and all those podcast platforms. I would suggest you to go on the IAESTE.org website to go through us. But first, I now have opened the old website, and my question to you is now. Why do companies have to change, or organizations have to change from time to time their websites, their internet visibility, and how is this developing over the years? So you are now self-employed and in the business for several years now. So maybe can you a little bit explain how did that changed over years, and what do you see, like if you see a website like our old one, how they can improve from this one?
Yeah. So one of the major reasons why a company, a business should change their website every couple of years, there are two aspects. One is the design aspect, the user interface, how it looks, and one is the user experience, how the person visiting the website travels along the website and finds information. Let's start with the design bit. The design bit, every couple of years, the main design elements and styles change. So right now we're very clean, modern, flat icons, flat illustrations, line icons. And this is what the current trend is when it comes to websites and in general design. So if a website looks old, busy, this can lead to the person who's visiting the website thinking that it's outdated, it might not look the most professional because it is not what is expected nowadays. And it can affect the perception that people have on the organization or the company. When it comes to the user experience, in the past, if a website was created 5, 7, 10 years ago, there wasn't as much emphasis on user experience as there is nowadays, which means that the website could have been designed without thinking about the user experience, without thinking about which information goes where, what information is important for the audience that is visiting the website, and ultimately on the general flow of the website. If a website isn't providing the correct information for the person who's visiting, if, for example, it's all about the company, but not what the company is doing for the audience or what the audience really needs to see and the information that they need to know, the website is useless. It is going to be hard to find the right information, and it's just going to encourage people to leave the website and not continue with their experience with the company. And this is what the IAESTE website, the current, well, in this case, old IAESTE website was doing. It was very hard to find information. If you're a student, if you're a company, you're not sure where to look. There is there is a lot about the organization and its history and its past, which is nice to know as an alumni or as a volunteer. But as a student looking to go for an internship, or as a company looking for an intern, this is not valid information. This isn't what we want to see when we first go in. This is something that you look for if you're interested, yes, but there's way more important information that needs to be shown first. And this is what we kept in mind.
So basically what we are looking at now is the old website because of the date when we are recording. It's the 24th of March. So you see still, we had those ribbons where there's students, companies, but the landing page, the first impression was always about us. It was about the IAESTE, what do we do? But it was like really crowded. It was state of the art back then. I have to say, we introduced this website, I think in 2016 or something like that. That's how you did it. But now we changed with the help of you, and actually we should mention there was a cooperation with Bamboo Labs from Croatia, who is also an IAESTE alumni, Boris Rausch, who is part of that company. And yeah, so we changed this user experience, and now I'm basically changing to the new website. And Elisa, please walk me through what changed and what makes this so much better.
Okay, so the new website keeps in mind the main target audiences of IAESTE, and it makes it very easy to go into the section you need based on what type of audience you are. If you're a student, if you're an employer, even if you're an alumni or a university, if you scroll down a little bit, you can see, if you're not a student, where should I go? It's right there. So it's very easy to navigate the website. If you're an employer, you'll go to a main page that gives you all the information that you require in order to get a student as an intern. If you're at a university and want to introduce IAESTE to your university, you've got a button right there. You don't have to search around and try and figure it out. If you're an alumni, you have all the information you require. And the most important thing is finding an internship. If you're a student and you want to find an internship, that is the main aim of IAESTE. So it's right there in the home screen, and you can just search based on a lot of factors on your discipline. What's your courses?
Let's choose architecture because you started with architecture, let's say.
And if you're interested in a particular location, you can also choose that. And it gives you a lot of options and a lot of details as well about the internship. So you can filter through very easily, see what is important to you. We've got also remote and on-site internships. Now that remote internships are also available through IAESTE. For example, if we see this architecture internship in Brazil, we can see that you have all the required information here. And including the languages you need to know, how long the internship is, the pay, and like that, you can see if it's ideal for you or not before applying. Yeah, you also can see more about the work offered if you go through the tabs, and it's very clear what the work offered is. You'll see a long description, how to apply.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have the steps of how to apply for an IAESTE internship, very clear and bit by bit. So it's easily understandable. And then you can obviously
you have this apply now button. So yes, I'm good, and I can apply directly. And I assume if I'm clicking on it that I get redirected to the IAESTE Exchange platform where we basically do all our bureaucracy. So all the applications, creating profiles is done there. And then it's up to the country, right? We are coming from, let's say from Malta, I'm from Austria. There are different ways how IAESTE is doing this depending on the country you're coming from. And I think that's something we can also have a look at right now.
Yes, so in this case, the the local countries aren't on the website right now, the local committees, but we can go towards member countries. Yes, they're here.
Exactly. So that's what I was aiming for. Sorry for I confused you. I see that. I'm sorry. So what I was going for was you can see all the member countries, and we have a very new feature which should help you as a student to look at. First of all, we have our map here, and let's say we are from France.
Yes. So if you scroll down,
to IAESTE France.
You can see some information about the local, the national committee and the national So yeah, you can see the local details, how to
Contact.
contact your national committee or local committee if there is a local committee in the country. And you can also find information, again, based on the target audience. So if you're looking to intern in France, you have the information that you need to know. If you are a student from France, you have the information that you need to know. And again, if you're an employer, you'll find the correct information.
Absolutely. So it's always okay. What are you searching for? So I'm interning in France. I'm a student from France. I'm an employer in France, and then I have basically a checklist and how to get. And I think that's also very important. Directly, how to get in contact with this committee, and then I just drop them an email or give them a phone call, and that's how we do, and that can be seen here for basically all the member countries. So let's say, let's go here. Yes, the Brazil, we just had this, it's the same. They joined in 1982, actually. I didn't know that. Cool. And yeah, so that's basically how the new website works. And maybe now coming, because like I said, it was basically, and removing now the screen again, it was a cooperation between you and also Bamboo Labs in Croatia. And as you are working basically remotely, and we are also having, and yes, we now have this remote internship program. Like we also already saw, you were able to choose between remote and on-site internships. So I wanted to ask you, as an self-employed person, how was it for you to work remotely? Especially, I mean, we are now getting used to it all over the world because of the current situation. But how do you manage yourself? Because that's also something very interesting for me. You're self-employed, you're an entrepreneur, you have to get things done, because otherwise you don't get paid, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe walk me a little bit through it. How do you manage yourself here? How, getting up in the morning, going to work, and having all this,
Okay, so I've been working remotely, I guess, for over 8-9 years, not because COVID started, but because this has always been my job. So I've been in the COVID life for a while. And to be honest, it's all I've ever known. I've never had a full-time job working for a company. I've barely ever worked in an office. So this is something that I have no idea of. And I basically started doing graphic design when I was around 16, mostly for foreign clients. So I've always worked remotely. And this is how I ended up in the self-employed business. I did graphic design for around 4 years. And then when I switched from architecture to marketing at university, I ended up doing marketing. And now that is my main full-time job as a self-employed marketing. I do websites, user interface, user experience, and also graphic design. I kept my true first love. So basically, being self-employed comes with a lot of discipline. You don't have anyone running after you. You don't have a boss running after you, which sounds amazing. But in reality, you don't have just one boss. Every single client is your boss. You've got 20 people running after you now, not your own one boss.
All with different requirements, different styles of how to communicate. And
it's quite, if it's, I imagine that if it's something you're not used to and you come from one boss to becoming self-employed, I imagine that the shift would be quite hard, because it's something I've been done my whole life. I don't know any different, and I'm so used to managing and juggling lots of projects that it's all I know, and it's my daily life at this point, and it's something I love. It's very, very flexible, but it's also means that you have to be highly disciplined, because if you're not the one pushing yourself, you have no one else pushing you, and you'll end up not doing the work. So my general day looks like this. I get up in the morning whenever I feel like, unless I have a deadline.
Okay.
Yeah, it's based on how late I stayed working the night before, because my day isn't 8 to 5. 9 to 5. My day is whenever I feel like. If I want to work from 8 p.m. till midnight, I'm going to wake up at 10 a.m. the next day. Have breakfast, then I get up, go to my desk, stare at a laptop for like 6 hours, go eat, go back, stare at my laptop for another 6 hours. Sometimes I have a meeting, which is nice because that is the only human interaction I get throughout the day. So that's quite, meetings are a breath of fresh air. Okay. I get to talk, I get to meet people. So it's quite nice. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. And then I keep working till how much I feel like. Like I'm quite a night person. So I do enjoy keep working till midnight and then start later the next day. As I said, it's quite flexible. You get to, if you want to have a hike on a Wednesday, you can. You don't have to wait for Saturday. So that's quite
because
nice.
in the end, the work has to be done, and the customer doesn't care if it's like if you did it on Wednesday in the afternoon or if you did it on Sunday morning, because you, at least on Monday, if there is a deadline, it's simply like, I can imagine that like it was at university, right? Because also in your courses, nobody cared when you're doing it. In the end, there was a deadline. And if it was not there, you're failing the course. That's, let's say, simple as that.
Very true. That's true. I never thought of it that way. And it also helped because I was working throughout uni. So if I had a part-time job throughout uni that had fixed hours, that would have been quite hard to deal with. So because of university and I was working, I guess, part-time self-employed at that point, I was very flexible. I could keep working and be at uni. And once I was at uni, I was still starting out, so I didn't have as many clients. And that is, I think, one of the things that keeps people back from becoming self-employed, the fear of losing a solid income, of not having enough clients to sustain their business. If you start when you're at university, you don't have that worry. At least from my end, I was living at home, so I didn't have, obviously, a lot of expenses. And I could say, whatever work comes in, I'm happy with it. And because I started early on, to be honest, when I was in sixth form, before I entered university, I ended up that by the time I graduated, I didn't need a full-time job with a company. I had enough clients to sustain a full-time job, which by starting early, I ended up creating my own job instead of having to go and work for a company. And it takes a lot of sacrifice, because if you have a business, if your friends are going out and they're staying up till 2 a.m. and you have a deadline, you need to say, no, I can't come out. You need to be quite disciplined with yourself and say, is your business important? Is your client important that you promise something to? Or is it you having fun? And
exactly.
It's your decision ultimately, but I chose, I guess, my future rather than my present fun.
And I have to say, like I said, I looked at your LinkedIn profile. You're quite successful with that, because what I also read, you got a Young Entrepreneur Award in 2015. Maybe tell us a little bit about that, because like I said, I was really impressed looking through the profile.
At university, I was quite active and I tried to do as many things as possible. So one of the reasons why I switched from architecture to management and marketing is Young Enterprise. So during my architecture, there were a team of students in my course who were doing the Young Entrepreneur Award. They were doing Young Enterprise, the startup program, and they needed someone else on the team. And they approached me and they said, hey, do you want to join? To be honest, I hadn't thought about it that much. I hadn't thought about joining Young Enterprise. And I said, why not? Let's just give it a try. And we went through the first semester. The competition was based on 2 semesters. The first semester, you could drop out if you wanted to, because it was a unit. For some people, it was a unit, like a normal course unit. I was doing it voluntary, so we had this idea where we were doing a fitness app where you gain real vouchers and real discounts from fitness shops, health shops, around the island based on how much exercise you did. And it was called Burn, but instead of BUREN, it was called B and Earn. So BEARERN.
So basically, the more sports you did, the more discounts you got at different sports.
The more discounts you earned.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And we were working on that. And the whole competition was basically creating a business plan and pitching it to investors. And at the end, you win 15,000 to continue and work on your idea. So we ended up winning the whole event, and that is why I got the awards. However, the awards, it's just a little nice trophy.
Yeah, but still, right?
It's what it gives you. It's the feeling that you can do anything, and
yes,
that is the true winning, apart from the cash.
Yes, yeah, of course. I mean, what I learned is it's like I just had a conversation a few days ago. It was not just, I mean, money does not make you happy, but it's the catalyzer who gives you the opportunity to do things which makes you happy. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wanted to ask, and that's why I was asking about that as well, because what you said already twice or three times now in our conversation is why not? So you chose IAESTE and said like, yeah, why not giving a chance? Why not staying? You were asked approach to join this team, and you said why not? Do you think this is something very successful people very often say in their 20s, so to say, or during their university, they are trying out so many things?
I think I think yes, if you're young and you have the time, why not is a good approach. Once you get a bit older, saying yes to everything can be a deterrent, can be something bad. And that's something I've learned and I've had to work on throughout the past 6-7 years. When I joined uni, I went from being a shy person at sixth form, and I was very closed, and I didn't want to try anything because I was scared of everything. And when I entered uni, I said, this is the time to rebrand myself. I thought of myself as a business. I said, okay, I'm going to rebrand myself. I'm saying I'm going to be more outgoing or try, and I'm going to try new things. So I tried to join everything. As you could see from my LinkedIn profile, I tried to do everything. And that's how I figured out what I want to do in life. If I never did this young enterprise project, I would have never realized I wanted to go more into marketing, more into business. And I wanted to join, instead of doing my self-employed as a little side hobby, do this full time. If I never joined IAESTE, to be honest, I wouldn't be traveling as much. I wouldn't love traveling as much. And it opened up so many doors that if I had never gone there, I would not be the person I am today. And I can't imagine the kind of different person I would be. So saying yes when you're in your formative years is vital towards becoming the person you should be, and the potential you are unlocking throughout the way. As I said, once you're, I think, out of uni and have settled down, saying yes to everything, especially if you're self-employed, will lead to burnout.
Yes, absolutely. So why I was asking that was like I said, I had also the conversation the other day, and also read some, let's say, also books, and I saw some videos on YouTube. It was like in the 20s, you always should say yes or why not. But when you, like you just said, when you settle down, then you say actually no, because then you should have figured out. I mean, it's not like a general rule, but when you say yes in your 20s, you really get to know yourself. You know your strengths, you know your weaknesses. You can work on your weaknesses to become your strength, actually. And that's how you can basically figure out what you really want in life. What do you value? And that's like, it was a really beautiful thing. I really see that. And I'm really happy that this came out here. I was not expecting that when we started this conversation to talk about this, to be honest. But I think it's really fascinating. And I always think that IAESTE is also helping a lot of people finding their why, so to say, if you want to go into Simon Sinek's direction. A lot of people know him, but maybe a question I have as well is, how did you manage all of that during your university? Because you said you were working part-time, if I understood that correctly, throughout university. You were part of basically everything, you said. So, but also, of course, you were exchange coordinator in IAESTE, and I used to be exchange coordinator in IAESTE Austria, and I know how demanding this job can be, especially in spring, when you receive all those nominations, when basically a lot of students are asking you, okay, when do I get the answer from the employer abroad? They have a lot of questions, like even up to, should I pack this into my backpack when I'm traveling or something? And you're like, okay, man, or can you? So how did you manage all of that?
How I managed, to be honest, lack of sleep. I managed by lack of sleep and learning to function on like 4 hours of sleep. Ironically, I didn't resort to coffee, and I still don't. But that's
really? No, I cannot survive. I have even a cup here, and it's like nearly close to 6 p.m. now in Austria. So
yeah. So mostly it's lack of sleep and surrounding yourself with a good team. When it comes to IAESTE, we were quite a good, well-oiled machine. We knew our strengths, we all knew our weaknesses. We worked on them, but we also left what someone was good at, they did, and what I was good at, I did. So during when I was exchange officer, I had the national secretary who was we worked very, very close together. She had the strengths that I didn't have. She had the good people's person. She was a very good people's person. She had great social skills. And I had the great admin skills. I was great with admin, with keeping everything organized. So we worked very well together like that. So IAESTE took a lot of my time, but if you know how to manage it, it's doable. When it comes to other things, when it comes to part-time work, this is not something I encourage, but the truth is, work during lectures. I worked during lectures. So when it comes to school, some of the lectures were things that were repetitive, were things I knew. And at that point, it's better to work, get some work done, than follow lectures. Not something I encourage anyone to do. Don't follow me. But
I can totally support that statement, because I did the same mistake throughout my bachelor's. I'm in electronics and information technology, and I'm an RF engineer now, or design engineer, depending on what project is currently going on in the company. But I also used to do that, to work a lot on IAESTE throughout lectures. And although I did that, I have to say, my biggest advice is don't do that. Sometimes it's necessary, though, I have to say, especially, I also started working. I had also a part-time job. I did IAESTE work, a lot of it. Sometimes it was simply necessary. It was either that or no sleep, right? It was not 4 hours of sleep or 3 hours. It was simply no sleep. And you need a team around you. And I think I totally agree on that too, because I remember back then I just had a conversation actually today before lunch. I had a presentation in my company, and then we got chatting, and it was about we came into, I was organizing career fair once, and it was basically my reason, or my saying was that back then I managed to do the career fair beside all the other things, just simply because I knew my team and the team was working well. And that's always quite beautiful what you can achieve when the team is the right. When everything is working like an old machine, like you said, it's when beautiful what you can achieve.
When you have people you trust around you, and you trust to do things well, that is when the magic happens. That's when you can do a lot of things with the power of the people around you.
Absolutely, yeah. So unfortunately, we are a little bit at the end of our time right now, and I have the feeling we could go on now, especially into all those, let's say, soft skill topics, because that's something I'm fascinated in. So we talked about the new IAESTE website, and I think it's really fascinating how this worked. And it's also like this international experiences we always promote with IAESTE came into here as well, with you in Malta and the company in Croatia. and of course the ESBL team sitting around the globe in the end. And now I want to ask you my last question. I'm actually asking everyone. And for that, I want to imagine you can now speak to all students on the planet, regardless if they are, let's say, can go abroad with IAESTE, or if they are like you, being not, let's say, the main target group of IAESTE, so to say, but still can volunteer with IAESTE. What would you say to them? Why they should get involved with IAESTE, what it brings to them, and why they should be for sure trying to get as international as possible. So basically, what would you say in a few sentences?
Okay. I think that exploring the world is vital towards learning about yourself and about other people. Through IAESTE, you're joining an IAESTE family that is international, is global, and the possibilities are endless. So if you join IAESTE as an intern, as a volunteer, you're expanding so many horizons that it will help you all throughout your life. And the connections you make will be there forever. And the things you learn will be there forever, both in your career, in your interpersonal skills, and in general, even it changes you and the hobbies you like, what makes you happy, and it basically changes your whole personality. And it is vital to experience the world, and IAESTE can be a catalyst towards experiencing the world and different cultures.
Thank you very much, Elisa, for joining us.